Welcome back to the college lineup. I'm Eli.
And I am Carson, coming at you back in person today after being virtual for the past couple of weeks with episode number 21. We've got an exciting NCAA basketball championship game to break down, another weekend of SEC baseball, and I think we're going to bring back the weekly hunt segment for this episode as well. So, Eli, without further ado, what do you say we jump into this NCAA championship game last night?
Let's do it.
All right, quick over-the-top high-level recap here. We have number 2, UConn, playing the number 1 seed, Michigan. Michigan ended up taking the win 69-63 in the low-scoring championship game last night. Michigan Wolverines, they are your 2025-2026 NCAA basketball champions. Eli, what are your first thoughts on this game last night?
Yeah, I honestly did not keep up with it a ton. I'm glad Michigan won. I did not have them winning. I did actually, in my third bracket, I had Michigan winning. Obviously, my first two had Vandy. So don't know what happened there. I mean, whatever. But but nonetheless, Michigan was able to pull it out. I think last episode I did pick Michigan. I had Michigan I did pick Arizona, excuse me. I had Arizona and UConn playing, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So that didn't end up happening. UConn did end up making it, but Arizona did not. They got beat by 18 against Michigan in the Final Four. So overall, in the final game with Michigan versus UConn, Michigan was just the flat-out better team. They were on a heater all season, especially in March Madness. And if you can do it in March, then you obviously see the outcome. You can win a national championship. Give flowers where flowers are due, though. UConn did have a great season as well. While it sucks being runners-up to a national championship basketball team, you can have high hopes for the future, especially with NIL. If you can have one great season, it seems to really help motivate people to put money into your NIL and grow that way. So, they placed second this year. Hey, what's not to say they turn around and win it next year? So, overall, great game, but that's really all the thoughts I have. Carson, how did you feel about that game?
Yeah, very low-scoring game. Caught me by surprise. I did have Michigan playing Illinois in my bracket. So I did pick Michigan to win the game, so it was good on the pick, but I was wrong on UConn being in the national championship game. Looking at the game, just quick high-level overview. I mean, Michigan only shot 2 for 15 from 3, so really they were able just to use their physicality to win this game here. Yeah. I would imagine some nerves, being in that environment on that stage for the first time for most of this team with a lot of players that did come from smaller schools and transferred into Michigan this past year via the transfer portal, right. Playing together with that team on that stage for the first time. So definitely that played into this game a lot in the beginning. But once Michigan was able to settle down and settle in, really no doubt here, Michigan's been the most physical basketball team in college basketball this year, without question. As a Bama fan, it makes me feel a little bit better knowing that Bama had a 2-point lead on Michigan at halftime of their game a couple weeks ago. Especially seeing how Michigan dominated the games after that versus Tennessee and versus Arizona here. So overall, no real surprises in this game for me. They were just a heck of a team this year, very physical, and there really just wasn't anyone capable of stopping this team from winning the national championship this year. So,
agreed. Welcome back to our next segment, the Weekly Hunt.
Welcome back to the Weekly Hunt, episode number 21. If you are unfamiliar with this segment, this is where me and Eli break down everything regarding the University of North Alabama athletics. Me and Eli are both alumni of UNA, and we live down here in the Shoals area. So we like to break down our local colleges' athletic updates, how their teams are doing, new coaching hires, and anything just going on in the athletic program for UNA. So we are in the middle of baseball and softball season here. Both seasons are going pretty good right now for UNA. All things are in a pretty good spot compared to where we came out of with football and basketball this past year. So let's take a look at baseball. Now, overall record sitting at 14-18. Home record 12-8. Conference record, though, of 7-5. They are currently sitting tied for first in the Gold Division in the ASUN Conference with Austin Peay and Lipscomb. Eli, what's your assessment of this UNA baseball team?
Yeah, and building off of that, that's going to be really interesting going into this weekend because we do have a weekend series at Austin Peay. So that'll be very interesting to see who's going to pull out on top here and be the sole leaders in the ASUN Gold Division. So that's going to be very interesting to see. But overall, just baseball as a whole, obviously, started off the season playing some tough teams, not in our division, like we established a few episodes ago, at the very beginning of the season, while for SEC schools and like Big Ten schools and all of those fun conferences, they kind of have those early games. A lot of them are a little bit easier. But for like places like UNA, especially ASUN teams, they can really struggle there to start. So while we do have a losing record overall in the season, being 7-5 and being tied for first in the Gold Division in the ASUN, that bodes well, at least for right now. Now they did just drop today to UT Martin, 5-6. But they'll get their redemption back. They did beat Central Arkansas last weekend, 2 out of 3. They won on Thursday, 4-3. Lost on Friday, 2-4, and then on Saturday they were able to win 16-9. So big series win there. Unfortunately, did drop this midweek game today, or when we're recording this. We're recording this on Tuesday. May post on Wednesday. We're not sure, but whenever it posts, just know that we had just finished that game on April 7th. So we got Austin Peay, but what's very interesting now too is that very next week we play UT Martin again, but this time at UT Martin. So that'll be interesting after hopefully either winning the series or sweeping against Austin Peay at Austin Peay. We got to travel to UT Martin for back-to-back midweek games against the same team. And so maybe we can get a bounce back victory there. But overall, I would say really, really great position we're in right now, especially after having a pretty solid showing last season. So looks like UNA athletics within baseball, and we'll get into softball in a minute, is on their way up. So that's always fun to see, especially as alumni.
Yep, for sure. This baseball team is a program that's gotten better every single year. We had a coaching change about 3 years ago now.
Yep.
From a long-time coach. So definitely moving in the right direction. Last year was the first time this UNA program has made the Conference ASUN tournament as well, because the bottom few teams of that of the conference usually do not make the tournament. So last year was the first year UNA baseball has made the ASUN tournament. It looks to be safely in it so far this year. Like you said, though, with playing Austin Peay this weekend and then going to Lipscomb next weekend. Those are going to be moving weekend series for sure.
Yeah,
it's really going to be really the statement series of the season so far.
Yep.
Going to be really interesting to see how UNA handles a road test at Austin Peay, because that's really where this team struggles. This team is 2-10 in away games.
Rough.
This is a team that very much so struggles not playing at home here in Florence. But you never know. You never know.
We really need baseball to avenge the basketball team playing Austin Peay.
We do. Austin Peay put it to us pretty good this year. They were the 1 seed going into the conference basketball tournament. So I was very happy when they went down. It's a little, what's the word? Undisclosed rivalry.
Yeah.
A little under-the-table rivalry between UNA and Austin Peay. That's built up over the past couple of years. So I'll be happy if we can take 2 out of 3 this weekend in Clarksville and then get ready for a home series versus Lipscomb next weekend. But overall, pretty solid start so far for UNA. Hopefully they can have a pretty solid end of the year and take it to the conference tournament, win a couple of games there, and really just keep building in a positive direction for this program. So with that said, let's go ahead and move to softball. Probably the most stable program in UNA athletics over the past couple of years. They are currently sitting at 27-8 overall, 10-2 in the conference, and are currently sitting on a 6-game win streak. Eli, what's your thoughts on this UNA softball team?
Yeah. My thoughts are only great so far. Don't have any gripes with them at all. Now, at the start of the season, they did start off a little slower. That's when they've lost actually the bulk of the games. They did start off on a 3-game win streak the first 3 games, but lost one to Troy, and they just kind of went back and forth, kind of a win and a loss there for the first 10 or so games. But they've really picked it up now, obviously with 6 wins in a row and being 10-2 in conference. And again, if I'm not mistaken, just like we talked about the men's team, they are in first place in their, is it the gold division as well?
Yep. Solo first in gold division, tied for first overall between both divisions with Stetson at 10-2.
So anytime you can do that and be 9-2 at neutral sites, that's great. 12-2 at home, and also have a winning record away, being 6-4. That's a really, really nice recipe for success there. But overall, we have really competed. We've competed with every single team. There hasn't been many teams who have beat us by much when they beat us, so we're always in the game. So that is always a plus there. Again, like Carson said, to reiterate, we are on a 6-game win streak. That all started against Evansville back on February 28th, it looks like. And so they beat them. They swept them all the way through March 1st there, and then had a doubleheader against Oakland on March 4th. It looks like they played at 2-4, beat them 9-0 in the first game and 7-1 in the second game. They had 2 straight games canceled on March 8th, so they were supposed to play a doubleheader, one against Gardner-Webb and one against West Georgia. Ended up not playing those games, and actually that I did not scroll down far enough. So, but they did go on a 5-game win streak, or 6-game win streak, 7 actually there. Excuse me. So that was a good win streak. And then they lost one to Ole Miss. So kind of scrolling down a little bit more after I misread that. I just not scrolled down enough. So we actually swept Bellarmine and Lipscomb. So 6 big wins there. Now, obviously, where I was at and talking about it, still had a really good stretch there of 7 wins before dropping it to Ole Miss. Nonetheless, we have played really well. The softball team's played really well, and I don't have any gripes at the moment with them. And I just hope that they keep on winning and keep showing these teams how UNA softball can perform at a very high level. And again, it's always great getting to beat Lipscomb, which is the more of the spoken rivalries over Austin Peay and Lipscomb, I would say. So, yep, overall great, and that's really all I got about that. Carson, you got anything to add to that as well?
Yeah, it's just this program is such a breath of fresh air in UNA athletics. Every year you can look at softball to be just a stable point of competitiveness, great athletes, great coaching from Coach Kozart, who we recently extended over the past year as well, furthered her contract, well-deserved. Just like I said, a breath of fresh air. Don't have to stress too much about UNA softball. Yep. Can always count on them to, be competitive, win games, and really take care of UNA athletics on the softball front. At the end of the day, too, it's our last season in the ASUN. So I would love for this softball team to really, really finish out this year strong and maybe go get a little UNA conference ASUN conference softball championship. Yep. Oh, that's a mouthful. Yep. Anyway. Love to see that happen in our last year. Like you said, take it to Lipscomb. I believe once we switch over to the new conference, July 1st, we will not be in the same conference as Lipscomb anymore. So,
I think that's correct, yep.
Yep. So really looking to take it to them and kind of get the last laugh on them there. But overall, UNA softball, outstanding. Yep. Really looking for them to have a great end of the year. And I think this is going to be our best performing team out of all UNA athletics this year so far.
Yep. They get Ole Miss again on April 14th at Ole Miss. Yep. Why they only lost to 2 when they played them, so that's going to be a really fun game to kind of tune into as well. Obviously, if we lose that game, not a super big deal, especially now that we're in a conference play, but it would be nice, ranked or not, for Ole Miss still to get a win. The only other really good softball team we played is Alabama. And I think they're actually ranked 1 in the softball polls now. If I saw that yesterday or today correctly, we did get beat 12-0 there. But Alabama has been historically a great softball program. So anytime you get to play them, you just kind of, want to try and play it close. Obviously, we didn't get to there, but that was the last thing I wanted to point out. Just seeing that we do get to play Ole Miss again, and maybe can get our get back there.
Oh yeah, that'd be a big win for sure. And yeah, like you said, Alabama actually just won 2 out of 3 against the number 1 team in the country, Texas, this past weekend.
Yep.
So Alabama softball is just another great another great softball program there. Coach Murphy's been there a long time, does amazing things. So just being able to play him and be competitive with him, which we have been over the past couple of years, is always a big win there. But like you said, April 14th, playing Ole Miss in Oxford would be a great statement piece just to showcase how talented this UNA softball program is. So I'm looking at that game and looking at these last 4 series as well and hoping they can finish strong and take some positive momentum into the ASUN tournament. With that, there's one more thing we want to hit on here for this weekly Hunt segment. UNA men's basketball made a big hire with Florence native Drew Stutts as the new assistant men's basketball coach. Eli, what are your thoughts on this hire?
These are my first thoughts. That's enough of that. But great. I think it's overall a great hire. It's going to be very interesting to see how his coaching goes or works in a little bit higher level, obviously D1. Being an NAI, that's great, and there's still very good athletes there that, are great, and they have the opportunity to transfer out eventually and hopefully, make it to more of maybe a powerhouse school or something like that. But I think overall this is a really great hire. I'm excited to see what he does because, again, he did graduate from UNA. It looks like he started at Northwest Shoals, but then he finished his career at UNA in 2011. So I think it's a great hire. Anytime you can hire somebody that's an alumni, they're going to put a lot more into it than maybe somebody who is just coming for the money. Now, I don't know if he got paid more to take this assistant coach job compared to a head coaching job at NAIA, where he's won back-to-back national championships. But nonetheless, I'm sure he was ready to get back home to his family. They all live around here. So I think this is nothing but great. I think it's really going to help Tony Pujol out. We obviously struggled a lot last season, so there needed to be some change made, whether it be, fire somebody or let somebody go or someone leaves to go somewhere else. Nonetheless, we did pick up somebody that I think could be very beneficial. Obviously, only time will tell there, but he has had a storied success with Freed Hardman. He actually, in his tenure there, he went 174-52, which is really solid. And if we can do anything like that at UNA, I'd be more than happy. Maybe we could even compete for another conference championship again, which would be fun. But I think we will, just like everybody else, we're turning into the United Conference, if I'm not mistaken. We already are in football, but I think now all the other sports, like Carson talked about a minute ago, are starting to transfer. Was it July? Is that what you
July
said?
1st, yep.
So that'll be interesting to see as well, getting to see a new kind of conference for all other sports. Football, again, we've already been in that, but for basketball, baseball, softball, any of those kind of sports, soccer, whatever that may look like. So overall, I'm just rambling on a little bit. I think it's a great hire, and I think that hopefully, I hope at least, maybe not think, but I hope he's going to do a lot of good things there and really, really turn this basketball program around, and maybe it be a thing. Maybe he's kind of like being groomed right now to become the head coach at some point. So that'll be interesting to see. But Carson, what are kind of some of your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think that last comment you made there is really what stuck out to me the most about this, is that it kind of gives a fail plan, if you will, for this UNA basketball program, because they needed something after such a disappointing year this past year. And it wasn't just a bad year. It was more disappointing than anything because we had such a great season 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And then we were so highly ranked in the preseason polls, and even, first half of the season when things were going well, you just expected this team to play better.
Yep.
You expected them to start just putting wins together, and it just never happened. That spark never happened. So I'm really looking at this hire as a spark plug for this team, and I'm also looking at it as a way to kind of keep players from entering the portal in the next few week or so. That's really what this looks like to me, is how can we ignite this program again, get the spark back, make it appeal to these players in the portal and appeal to the players that we have that are thinking about leaving. How do we get them to stay and show that we are investing in this program and we want to move the needle and we are serious about UNA basketball being a contender moving forward? That's what this is to me, and I think this is an amazing hire. I think this is one of the best hires UNA Athletics has had in a long time. This is somebody that's really, really, really well respected locally, like you said. He's from here. He played at UNA. It means more to him than just getting another assistant coaching job somewhere else and moving up the ladder. Like, this is home for him. This area is home for him. He knows this area very well. This is an area that is home to a lot of good basketball talent as well. So it might appeal to those players to want to go to UNA, to have an assistant coach that's from this area and understands what it's like to go to high school, to get recruited and to play college basketball around here too. I think that's going to help tremendously.
Yep.
And like you said, his record at Freed-Hardeman has been incredible. He's done incredible work there. So overall, just really, really excited about this hire. And I think something else is interesting too about this is his sister, Abby Stutts, is also the women's basketball coach at Freed-Hardeman as well. And I think it opens the door for her to maybe come on this women's basketball program, who's also on the verge of trying to build a coaching staff as well. Yep. Not speaking that into existence, don't know if that'll happen, but I just kind of have a hunch like, okay, now that he's here, we also have a brand new women's coach coming in, also trying to build a staff. Like, we have Drew Stutts, whose sister Abby Stutts is also building an incredible women's program at Freed-Hardeman. Like, is UNA thinking about that? I don't know. Just a thought there. Yeah, don't know too much about that, but that was my thought too.
Right, and I think too, this is actually, they both had the number 1 seed in NAIA this year. Now, Abby Stutts and the women's basketball team did fall a little short. I think they may have even lost in maybe the second round or something. They had obviously probably a first round bye, but I do think they ended up losing there. But one last thing that I want to kind of touch on, this at the end of this little UNA article that gives his statement from Drew Stutts when he was interviewed, or when some of the guys were asking him about kind of why he chose to go here and pick it, and if he was excited or not. Obviously, he's probably going to be excited if he took the job, but I just wanted to read that statement real quick, and maybe we could talk about it for a second. So he said, "I'm beyond excited to be joining the UNA basketball program." Was Stutts at the time of the hire. He said he wants to sincerely thank athletic director Dr. Looney and head coach Tony Pujols for this incredible opportunity coming back home to the Shoals to coach at me and my wife Amanda's alma mater. Is truly a dream come true. He said he knows without a doubt that God has had his hand in every step of this journey, and he can't wait to get to work, bringing everything he's learned as the head coach at Freed-Hardeman University, and also helping build on the championship level success that Coach Pujols and his staff has established so far. And he said that the best is yet to come, and he's fired up to be a part of it. So seems pretty uplifting there and hopeful after, like Carson said, again, a less than exciting outcome to last season.
Yep, for sure. Very excited to have him on staff. Very excited to see the investment UNA is making in this men's basketball program and with other sports as well. And only time will tell what's in store for this UNA basketball program. But overall, UNA Athletics is in a great spot so far this spring. Welcome back to our college baseball segment. We are going to hit some of last week's series here. We had a great weekend of college baseball, getting into some great matchups from this past weekend. So starting off, I'll talk about one that surprised me here that me and Eli were just talking about off air. Georgia, Mississippi State. 5-seed Georgia playing in Starkville against the 4-seed Mississippi State. This is a state team that has been so good so far this year.
Yep.
Had a great series against Ole Miss, had an amazing series against Vanderbilt, and they dropped the ball big this weekend against Georgia, getting swept by Georgia in Starkville. Eli, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to have to, dog on myself a little bit. I did pick Mississippi State, I think, to even sweep Georgia, but they ended up getting swept. So I got the sweep right, just wrong team there, but it's a good thing for Georgia. I mean, they can really be riding high, beating Mississippi State. Now, they were already ranked 5, but beating the number 4 team, Mississippi State, is going to help them just solidify why they should be in the top 10 in the first place. But for Mississippi State, I don't really think you need to, take much from that. Now, it sucks getting swept, and once you start conference play, you don't really want to get swept. It's kind of, a little bit harder to bounce back. But when that only ends up giving you 6 losses on the season, you can easily bounce back from that, and you're still okay. So as long as they can come on strong and win next weekend against whoever they play, I think they'll be right back there. They're still ahead of the ball compared to every other team in the SEC besides maybe Georgia. So overall, it was interesting to see that Georgia was able to put it all together and get the sweep, especially being in Starkville. because Mississippi State brings a lot of fans. I think it's one of the most went to ballpark and most crowded. So the most that they most fans come to,
Most attended.
most attendance. That's what I was trying to find. I appreciate
Don't worry
that.
about it.
But yes, most attendance. So that's great for Georgia to be able to do that. So very interesting series there. Another series that might be good to point out here as well is Alabama actually was able to come through with the series victory against Oklahoma. They lost the first game, or they lost on Thursday or Friday. Sorry, they lost on Friday, but they won Thursday, lost on Friday, and they may have had a doubleheader here. Against no, they didn't. So they must have played early Saturday or something. But yeah, either way, they did play Saturday. Were able to pull out the series against Oklahoma, which is big because Alabama was ranked 16, Oklahoma was ranked 11th. So anytime you can pull an upset in at that capacity is really good. And Alabama's just been on an absolute heater lately, and they have definitely been the team to keep an eye on for the most part. Carson, what other games you got in mind that you wanted to point out?
Yeah, just go back to that Bama series. Yeah, this is a Bama team that looks good, very strong. On the road win right here. They moved up to 8th now in the college baseball ranking. So all around, great showing there. Like you said, just been on an absolute heater. They've got Arkansas, another ranked SEC opponent right now, back in Tuscaloosa this weekend. So I look forward to that series and seeing how they handle this Arkansas team this coming up weekend. Another series that was super, super fun to watch for the first game, and then not the second two games.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt and Texas A&M. So this was, I would say, sort of as expected series. We expected Vandy to have a strong Thursday night showing with Fennell and some strong pitching there. And then Vandy ended up playing a doubleheader on Friday due to some inclement weather moving in there, and just the wheels kind of fell off.
Yep.
They lost the first game on Friday, so second game in the series 8-4, and then they lost the last game 12-0
in 7 innings.
Rough game. Started a freshman pitcher, just wasn't able to find his footing there. Ended up getting pulled after just a couple of innings, and they just teed off. They did what Texas A&M has shown that they can do this season. 13 hits in that second ball game on Friday there. Just incredible display of hitting for A&M on one hand. Yes, I get that. But also just a complete, utter lack of pitching and hitting, and even defense. They had 2 errors in that game. Vanderbilt did. So, Eli, what are your thoughts on these Vandy boys?
Yeah, Thursday looked good. Could not miss the ball, even if it was thrown in the dirt. They were hitting a tank. So pretty high-scoring game there. So was pretty confident going into Friday playing the doubleheader. And then we did get 4 runs on the first game on Friday, all 4 via a solo home run. So there was no lack of home runs by Vandy there. They did end up with 10 hits that game and only scored 4, so that kind of stinks. Texas A&M had 8 runs but only had 5 hits all game. That was really one that Vandy needed there. They could have easily won that game, but the pitchers just were very, very struck by just walks. They just kept walking them and kept walking them. I don't remember exactly how many walks, but there was at least 9 or 10 that game, and that's not a recipe for success. I think at one point they had the bases loaded, and that we had either hit or walked all 3 of the guys on base. So then all they need is 1 hit, and it either, if it's even just a single, that scores 2 runs, or if it's a double in the gap, it may score all 3. So very unfortunate game there. So you were thinking maybe Vanderbilt squeeze that out and win the first 2, and then you don't have to worry as much about the third game. But they did lose that game, and then even worse, they ended up getting mercy ruled in 7 on the second game on Friday. So Vanderbilt has still been lapsing lately and have not really bounced back. Again, you can maybe argue that the Tennessee series was a little bit of a bounce back, but we still just don't have that Vandy consistency like we've had in the past. And I think they've made a regional for the 19 straight seasons, and that is very much in jeopardy right now. Hate to see it, especially under the same coach who has been through with you in all of those 19 seasons there. So unfortunate for Vandy. It is definitely not the bats that are hurting them. Again, they did hurt them in the third game. They could not. That game, they really couldn't hit anything, even if it was thrown right down the middle. So, unfortunate game. But overall, season-wise, if our pitchers just show up just a little bit better, Vandy has a chance to really turn things around. But not super hopeful right now for the Vandy boys. So that was a very much unfortunate series there. But overall, we had some really, really good baseball games and some fun games to watch. South Carolina did win one game out of the series against Texas. So again, not getting swept is the name of the game, at least right now, for conference play. And anytime an unranked team can beat the number 2 team in the nation, that's always a little bit fun to kind of cackle at or look at and kind of be like, oh, that's nice. So nonetheless, that's really all the games that I wanted to point out. Carson, were there any more games that kind of stuck out to you?
Yeah, I like that UCLA-USC series, little in-state matchup there as well. But UCLA is the number 1 team in the country right now, and they only have 2 losses so far on the season. So another great display for them. They moved to 29-2 after that series this weekend, sweeping USC, who came into that series as the number 12 team in the nation, came in at 27-3. So they were great. They're a great ball club. They were great going into that series, but UCLA just once again proving why they're the number 1 team in the country. They're sweeping their in-state rival USC there. Overall, I think that's all the games that I wanted to hit on. We've got some great games coming up this weekend. So, Eli, what do you say we do a little rapid-fire baseball picks?
Let's do it.
All righty. So, we've got a great top 5 matchup here. We've got number 5, Florida State, at number 3, Georgia Tech.
Give me Florida State. I picked them. I think we actually went for them last week as well. We did their game, and we didn't actually talk about it, but let's see if they won the series or not. So they did win the series against Virginia. They lost the Thursday game, but then were able to win the Friday and Saturday. So for my rapid fire, I'm going to stick with the Florida State Seminoles. I am going to pick them.
I'm going to go Georgia Tech here. Georgia Tech's coming in 27-5 into this series. They have played Auburn a couple games this year that I've watched, and they're in the midweek, and they've looked very strong. They've looked great this season. I think it'll be a great series. Give me Georgia Tech to take the Friday and Saturday games, but not Thursday.
Okay.
So series number 2, we have number 16 Oklahoma playing Vanderbilt in Nashville.
This one is a tough one. Vandy, I'm hoping, can get a bounce back series after losing at Texas A&M, and in a fashion that maybe some would say, and what I would even argue is we maybe should have won the Friday first game as well. So very frustrating start there to that weekend, or kind of finish more so of that weekend. So hopefully it doesn't lead into this weekend. They were playing a midweek game today, but I haven't actually checked to see if they won. They were up 2-0 in like the 8th inning or something
Vandy?
like that. Yeah,
3-0.
So they won 3-0 in this midweek game. So maybe they won't have a lapse here. Going to play Oklahoma at home or at Hawkins Field, so at Vandy's home field. So I think I'm going to go with my gut here. I think Vandy's going to squeak this out. Not a sweep or anything of the sort, but I think it's going to be 2 of 3. But the game we lose is going to be by a blowout in the Sunday game or Saturday slot. I'm not sure which one they play, but I'm going to pick Vandy to win the series.
I'm going to go Vandy too. I like the pick. They're 18-4 at home. I do think they win it is a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series, so I'm going the Thursday and Friday games. Just kind of like you said, I think it's going to be a blowout on Saturday just because of the lack of pitching they have in that third game slot. It's just terrible.
Yep.
Don't look for them to win that game, but I look for them to win the first 2 Thursday and Friday games of this series. So moving right along here, let's go with number 19 Nebraska versus number 21 Oregon in Oregon.
Give me Nebraska. Nebraska has had a pretty solid all-sports season. With football, they played decent. Basketball, they obviously made it to the championship, or not to the championship. They made it to March Madness, and were able to go decently far in that. They did make it to the round of 32. They did end up getting beat. But nonetheless, they've had a pretty solid season. So with all of that in mind, I am going to pick Nebraska to beat Oregon this weekend.
I'm going to go Oregon. No real intuition why. I just kind of got that gut feeling to go with the Ducks this weekend. So I'm just going to roll with my gut. I'm going to take the Ducks to take 2 out of 3 versus Nebraska this weekend. So moving into our 4th series pick right here. Little in-state action. Number 2, Texas versus number 18, Texas A&M in College Station.
Give me Texas to win that game. I think they call it in football the Red River Rivalry. No, that's Texas and Oklahoma. Whew, man, I'm going to get flamed for that one. Don't really feel like cutting it out, though. So just an in-state rivalry nonetheless. But I do think Texas is going to win. They have been playing really well. They did lose one to South Carolina. But again, winning that series, there is nothing wrong with that at all. So I am going to pick Texas here. Not a super big Texas guy, but I'd rather them beat Texas A&M so that way maybe Vandy can get a little bit of get back and be like, oh yeah, Texas beat them. But it may look better if Texas A&M goes and beats Texas, so then we don't have to feel as bad about ourselves either. So, but I am ultimately going to pick the number 2 Texas team to beat Texas A&M.
I looked it up because I couldn't remember the name of it either. We're doing this too late at night for me to remember the name.
Yep.
Is the Lone Star Showdown.
Okay.
Is what we got this weekend.
Red River Rivalry, almost enough,
Give or take.
Give or take different teams, but anyway.
But I am going to take Texas too. They just look so good this year. A&M's had really great spurts this year. Obviously, this past weekend against Vandy, they look great. But obviously, this is a Texas team that is just playing at a different level than most of these other teams this year. So give me Texas here. Give me the Longhorns. As much as I'm not a Texas fan, they have an amazing baseball team this year, and I think they will get it done 2 out of 3 this weekend. So moving into our last pick here, we have a matchup that I would say is pretty evenly matched. We have number 24 LSU at 22-11. And we have number 25, Ole Miss, at 22-11. Game is in Oxford.
Give me Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss has really been putting it together lately. They did win the series. That was one game that I actually failed to point out, that we both failed to point out. They did win the series against number 21 ranked Florida. So I think they're on a roll here recently, and I think that they are going to win that series. I don't think it's going to be a sweep or anything like that. I think they will win 2 out of 3, though.
I like the pick. I'll match you with it. I'm going to go LSU here. Or I'm sorry, take that back. I'm going to go Ole Miss here. This is an LSU team that has not been what your typical LSU team would be. Put it that way. I mean, this is the defending national champions, but overall things have just not gone their way this year. If you were to tell an LSU fan before the season that you'd be on this point in first week of April and you're 22-11, it's probably not going to be met with a great positive attitude just because they're expecting such a high level of play down there in Baton Rouge. But Ole Miss is a great team. They've had some strong showings this year, but they've had some little blunders too, but both of these teams have, so that's why I said I think they're pretty evenly matched. But give me Ole Miss to win the, let's see here. Trying to see if it's a Thursday, Friday, or for Friday, Saturday. It is a Friday, Saturday, Sunday series. I think they're going to win the Friday and the Sunday games. So give me 2 out of 3, losing to LSU on Saturday. So with that, I think that'll wrap up episode number 21. Eli, as always, it's been a blast. If you were listening and you are not following us on Instagram or YouTube, please feel free to check us out over there on both of those. And if you were listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please feel free to follow us on there so you would not miss our weekly podcast uploads. If you want to see our baseball pick recaps, they will be on our Instagram as well as a episode summary. So please, if you enjoy it, give a like, give a follow. If you want to share it with a friend, we'd also really appreciate it. Tell all your friends. If you enjoy it, it'd be great if other people would enjoy it as well. So with that, from Florence, Alabama, this has been episode number 21 of The College Lineup.